All eyes on Russia and Ukraine as tensions continue to escalate. But could China be the next threat? My next guest warning China could invade Taiwan, and soon. Ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Texas Republican Congressman Michael McCaul. Good to have you here, sir. What is your prediction?
Thanks,
Lay it
Andrew.
out for us. What do you see happening?
Well, yeah, I've seen the plans. The Russian plans are very aggressive timetable. When you look at the troop deployments that are surrounding Ukraine, with a lot of troops, 100,000, 75,000 more on the way, tanks, artillery, now joint exercises in Belarus. It's getting very serious, and the time is running out. My concern is there's no deterrence, and we know from history that weakness invites aggression. Neville Chamberlain, Hitler demonstrated that. Reagan talked about peace through strength. And every time we talk to the administration, I just got off a phone call with the secretary and the leadership, and it's always, what are we going to do after an invasion, not what are we going to do to stop an invasion from happening in the first place.
That's a big statement, because there's big questions, and we've seen the White House asked about this many times, why we're not being more proactive when it comes to Putin. Why are we waiting for him to make the next move? Blinken said it today publicly. He said the ball is in Russia's court. Your statement would lead us to believe there's more we could be doing now to stop this from happening. What is that?
Yeah, don't let Putin dictate the terms. That's what he's doing. He's dividing and weakening NATO. He is showing a force on the border. What we need to be doing is sending more lethal military aid to Ukraine, and I have legislation to do that. I think it actually could be bipartisan. And I also think that we need coalition forces in eastern NATO countries like Poland and the Baltic states to show Putin that we're serious. If we don't do this, an invasion is certain. And then what's going to happen after that? There's no plan for a post-invasion of Ukraine. And why is this so important to the American people? Because after Afghanistan, there was such a projection of weakness by President Biden that our foreign adversaries became emboldened, and now they're testing this president. Putin's always wanted Ukraine the breadbasket of Russia. Energy is a big part of this to control the Black Sea. President Xi would love to take over Taiwan. The Ayatollah is building a bomb, and Kim Jong-un just fired off 2 rockets this month, claiming he has hypersonics.
To your prediction now about the Chinese possible invasion of Taiwan, what are you predicting could happen there? I know you're tying it to the mixed messaging that we're getting on the Russia-Ukraine situation.
Well, President Xi's watching, and he's watching what's happening in Ukraine. If we look weak, if we don't project strength, and Putin invades Ukraine, which is likely, I hate to say that, he will take that as a signal that now he can go into Taiwan with no consequences. I always find that if you have consequences to bad behavior, you stop bad behavior. We're not seeing that right now. Of course, President Xi will wait till after the Olympics before he makes this type of move. But just similar to what's happening in Ukraine, we're also seeing Taiwan being surrounded on the sea and the air by forces of the CCP and a very strong projection of force. We have to show deterrence in the region, both in Eastern Europe, but also in the Indo-Pacific.
You mentioned that you just got a briefing from Secretary Blinken, as I understand it. Was there anything specific that you can share with us that he was identifying as a possible threat on that front, on a possible invasion of Taiwan?
Well, we didn't talk about Taiwan. We talked more about Ukraine. But I think the fact that we're pulling out non-essential employees from the embassy, just like we were doing that in Afghanistan, sends a message about how high the threat level actually is. He talked about trying to resurrect the INF treaty that President Trump did away with because the Russians were violating that treaty. And he thinks that he can talk his way out of this. Look, you leverage the diplomats, you want them to succeed, but if they don't have strength and leverage behind that force, they fail. And what I don't see right now is any strength or leverage to the tough rhetoric's great, but if you don't have the action and the backing of the United States military and our NATO allies behind it, it doesn't mean anything.
I'll end where we started. You just You just said that you believe that a Russian invasion of Ukraine is likely, sir. With what sort of force should that be met? And do you believe that our allies are completely on board?
Well, I don't think we'll have any troops on the ground in Ukraine, but we do have a presence with NATO and our NATO allied countries. So that's the problem. What force will be used to meet a Russian invasion? That's why we need the deterrence right now and not after an invasion happens. The reason why I'm concerned about the timing is because of the timeline and the plans themselves and the aggressive nature of what I'm seeing on the border with these troops and artillery. The Belarus operation joint exercise, very, very concerning. The cyber attacks, be afraid, they say, very concerning. And once they get into the springtime, these tanks can't operate on the ground as they go into a springtime force. So I think it's going to happen soon, and we need to stop it.
Appreciate you joining us, Congressman. Thank you.